So Bruins fans, do you actually want to see Brad Marchand win the Stanley Cup with the Panthers? I kind of don't. I mean, I would like to see him do it, but I don't want to see the Panthers do it. Apparently, somebody in Boston is all aboard Brad Marchand winning another Stanley Cup, because this was seen today in the city of Boston. Oh, guys, I don't like this. This is the Edward Everett Hale statue in the public garden in Boston, wearing a Brad Marchand jersey as his Florida Panthers set to do battle with the Edmonton Oilers for the Stanley Cup. It reeks, man. It's not what you want to see. And people have been comparing it to Ray Bourque going to the Colorado Avalanche back in 2000 and winning the Stanley Cup in 2001. Everyone in New England was pulling for the Avalanche. It was a big deal. Obviously, the Bruins were shit. Bourque had never won it. It became kind of a thing around Boston sports fandom to root for the Avalanche that year. This is not the same. Brad Marchand has won a Stanley Cup with your team. It's not as embarrassing, but that is embarrassing, seeing that statue out there. And I really don't want to see the Panthers win another Stanley Cup. But Ray Bourque reminded Julian Edelman of exactly what happened to Boston after Ray Bourque felt he had embarrassed the Bruins a bit. So maybe this is a good thing.
Calls me, says the mayor's office just called me asking if you'd be willing to bring the cup back to Boston. They want to celebrate you at City Hall. I said, I can't do that. I don't want to embarrass the Bruins. He says, what about if the Bruins sign off on it? So Mike O'Connell's the general manager. So he calls Mike and says, Ray's been asked if he could come back and they want to do something for him at City Hall. He says, yeah, we have no problems with that. So then I come back with the cup, City Hall, 10,000 people are there. It was like crazy. What happened after that? The Patriots win in New Orleans. And then from that point on, Pats win 2 out of 3. The curse is broken with the
Sox.
The Celtics win, the Bruins win, the Patriots keep winning, the Red Sox win again. It all started after the Cup came back to Boston.
Let's go.
Okay. So maybe there is some incentive to root for Brad Marchand. Now, if we take it back to 2001, Boston was really hurting as a sports town, right? The Red Sox had some competitive teams at the end of the 90s, but obviously they were curse-ridden. The Patriots came out of nowhere a few months later in 01, but they were nothing. They were a 5-11 team the year before. And the Celtics and the Bruins stunk, like really stunk. This was Patino for the Celtics, and to the point where you're trading Ray Bourque so that he can actually go and win something. Boston's not in that right now. They just won the NBA title last year, but let's look at next year. All the teams are going to suck next year. Like, I hope the Patriots take a nice step, but we can't bank on that. We just can't. They're coming off 8 wins in the last 2 seasons. The Bruins are going to suck. The Celtics are going to suck without Jason Tatum. And the Red Sox are hapless. So maybe the setting is a little bit similar. Because I'll tell you, if Brad Marchand did come back with the Stanley Cup, because he's taken it home before, he's already won it, why not take it back to Boston, his other home? There would be a huge fan support of it. Like, because by the time Ray Bourque had won it, it had been 30 years since the Bruins had done it. And obviously it hasn't been that long, but it has been a young generation of Bruins fans that have not seen it, right? It's half the amount of time that it was when Bourque won it. It's been 15 years, but that is a long time for young fans. You know, I was a kid when they won it. So there would be like a big party, like Bruins fans would show up if that happened. But there's absolutely no chance Don Sweeney signs off on that. Don Sweeney, who had to trade Brad Marchand because A, he couldn't find an extension for him, and B, he couldn't build a roster around Brad Marchand that was good enough that he didn't have to trade his captain. And they, again, won it. He's going to win it with a team that this fan base really doesn't like right now. So I doubt it, but man, if Brad Marchand did that without the express written consent of the Boston Bruins, I couldn't help but have respect for that. And I was on board with the Marchand trade when it happened, but that's because so much other shit happened that was so frustrating, right? And I didn't love that they sent him to the Panthers. There was plenty of other teams that were interested in him. But this would be an ultimate FU to the organization, not to the fans, but to Don Sweeney. and Cam Neely and the Jacobs family. And maybe it'll light a fire under their ass. I don't know, but how funny would that be? Because people would show up. There are a lot of Bruins fans not happy with the organization right now. In fact, I would say a majority, which is tough to do with Bruins fans. Bruins and Celtics fans, it's tough to really get them very cynical. But the Bruins are absolutely doing that to their fan base right now. And if Brad Marchand won the cup and brought it back, oh man, what an embarrassing day that would be. But it could be one of those that it's just embarrassing enough that it lights a fire under them. That's not what happened with Ray Bourque. They didn't start turning it around with the Bruins until 6, 7 years later. But maybe it brings that magic. Maybe all of a sudden we start winning championships again. All of a sudden, this long drought is over. Maybe Drake May does lead them to the playoffs and become a contender, because if he doesn't, none of these teams are going to be contenders next year. But anyway, let me know what you think. Are you rooting for Brad Marchand in the Stanley Cup final? Would you like to see him bring the cup back to Boston and rub it in Don Sweeney's face? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love Brad Marchand and you like Boston sports, because we're bringing it to you every single weekday, high noon Eastern time, live on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel to go over what we're talking about in Boston sports every weekday. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Bourque keeps us on the air 5 days a week. We will see you tomorrow on a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.